Hey folks, this is Jason Lewis, the producer of the From the Shadows podcast. I just want to remind you about our website, FromTheShadowsPodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. We would appreciate it if you like and follow. Also, join our discussion group on Facebook called After the Shadows. We have a Twitter feed. Please follow us on Twitter. It can be found with @podcast_from. Follow us on Instagram at From the Shadows Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Go to the search bar at YouTube and put From the Shadows Podcast, and please subscribe to that channel. We are also on the Odyssey Radio Network, and we can be found there at odyssey1.com. We're still on the traditional podcatchers that everybody loves to listen to us on. We get a lot of feedback, so please rate the podcast and communicate with whether you're on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. We're there, and we appreciate it when you leave comments for us. We also have a Patreon page. It can be found at www.patreon.com/FromTheShadows. You can receive books, stickers, coffee mugs, and special content just for our Patreon subscribers. Check it out for yourself and see what packages that we have to offer. Well, that's all I have for you right now, folks, and thanks for being a part of the From the Shadows podcast family. So with that being said, let's get this episode started.
So Howard, so I guess we're going to label this episode Jason's in the hospital.
I think that says it all right there, right?
Right there. Because as we're recording this, he's still in the hospital. But if you're listening to this, then he's gotten out. Because it's, he's been
He's
in
the only person who knows how to put it up there, right?
Yeah, and so of course this has taught us that we need to have a contingency plan in case something happens to one of us. I'm not sure we can replace the Howler, but I guess.
Sure, I'm the most replaceable one.
Oh, I don't know.
Play some Jerry Clower reruns, and that's about all I got. Me and Marcel Ledbetter down there in Jackson, Mississippi. Oh, what did he used to do? I don't remember. He's my hero.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, so Jason, as of this recording's been in the hospital probably 5 days. 5 days he's been in the hospital. So, and we apologize to all the people who were, had to wait an extra week for an episode of the Howler and the episode of the regular podcast. Everybody's been pretty good, we actually put up a post, letting everybody know that Jason was sick and it was probably going to delay, and a lot of nice messages for Jason. He was very appreciative. He was able to get on and read some of them. Although we did have one guy question whether or not Jason was really sick. I think you called him the super fan. He's our super fan, right?
That's what I call him, super fan.
You call him super fan.
And the reason why is because whenever somebody, when I see bad, okay, I'm just throwing this out there, okay, for all the people, and there's only a few of them that write bad stuff in the comments, I never see them, first of all.
Yeah, you never see him unless I tell him to you.
Unless you should, that's exactly right. So if you girls are sending phone numbers and underwear, I don't ever get it. Shane gets it all. Okay, so don't think my lack of mentioning it was because I'm too famous or stuck up. It's just I don't get any of that. So, but the few people that this guy has an emotional connection with our show. With your all side of the show more than me, okay? But
yeah, the paranormal part.
With the paranormal part, and when he gets upset, I think it's because he emotionally has invested so much in him. So I don't look down on him like some guys do. You know what I mean? I try to see the positive about it.
You
And I
try
know
to
he's
see.
railing on us, huh? He's railing on
Yeah.
you guys,
You
not
okay?
me. He's railing on
Yeah.
you guys,
Yeah.
not me.
No. Apparently, he's hoping that you break off and have your own show.
I didn't take that message to say mean that. I took it as, well, first of all, people don't realize how many guests reach out to you to get on the show. That's the first thing. So when he says you're excuse me, you're running out of guests, he's far from that. Okay. And he just, as it, it's typical, right? Most people don't really know what's going on in their own life, so how are they going to know what's going on in somebody else's across the country? So, but we're going to endeavor to do better. We're going to get some technical assistance because, like all great projects, the management here does not understand how the show runs. So,
Exactly.
the backbone.
And
the backbone of the Army is in the staff sergeant, and Jason's our staff sergeant. And when he's out, you got all these officers walking around talking about what we coulda, shoulda, woulda do.
I know that's all we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it me, you, and the judge are like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
How we getting the show on?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
But it has at least Jason now understands what I have been telling him is like, hey, look, we need to be prepared for this. And Jason is a tough dude. And he's a man of steel, and he was burning the candle at both ends.
That's right.
For people that don't know, he's got a full-time job, and he went back to school to get a communications degree.
Yes.
And he's taking classes twice the normal speed, like twice as fast online. So he's basically been for the past 2 months working on 3 hours of sleep.
And really, the nasty fans is why he went back to school, because he's trying to make the podcast better, and he thinks they're going to teach him that in college. So God bless him, right?
Yeah. And so when you have people who, like you said, don't even understand the time and effort that we put into this, and especially what Jason's doing, and then they say ill-informed, just hateful things because their life is, I don't know, really adrift, or they're searching for attention. I don't know.
Well, I'd like to use, my old boss used to say, they want to blow your candle out to make theirs look brighter. So
yeah, there you go.
That's just what they're doing.
Yeah.
But going to the hospital could be a life changer, especially nowadays. I've been reading where they say it was a study in the Northeast where they said, they were trying to differentiate the people that were in the hospital for COVID and the ones that were in the hospital for something else and got COVID, because there's a lot of sick people in the hospital, right? So you go there for one thing and you get something else. You know what I mean? And you saw the movie No Country for Old Men, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Tommy Lee Jones is opining some story in that show about somebody that he knew that was going to kill this bull, and he explains what that air thing is the bad guy's using, and breaks loose, and his the person he's talking about gets injured and crippled or whatever, and his adage to the young deputy was, even the best laid plans can go awry, right?
Yeah.
So you can go in the hospital for one thing, and it'll change your life. I got hospital stories to tell and some not to tell. So I feel bad for him.
Well, yeah, and I'm not. I mean, I've been poking fun at Jason, because he went into the hospital for one thing. Thinking he had one thing, he described to me where he thought he had this boil on his back, and he kind of looked up a remedy, and I teasingly said, you can't use a home remedy of Tabasco sauce and an eagle feather to drain a boil, and which I'm not saying that's what he did, but it was some home remedy or whatever.
Well, he was reading that Steve McQueen book, or was that the Steve McQueen, or was it you? Howard Hughes. Either one, right? Either one.
I
Or
don't know.
even Steve Jobs.
I
Didn't Steve Jobs and then help usher him into the final chapter?
don't know. I don't
Yeah, I
know
think
what
he
this
had
could.
cancer at like stage 2 and decided he was going to go do some. I almost said homophobic, but
Well, I
that's
don't
not
think he
right.
used Tabasco
Homeopathic or
sauce.
whatever
I
thing over there in
don't think he
India.
used
And by the
Tabasco.
time he got back
It was too late.
to
It was,
America, it was stage
it was
4. You know what I mean? By the time he got to the Mayo, it was too late. So it's like if the richest people in the world come here for medical care, you probably don't need to go anywhere else.
well, Jason went in from went in because the pain was way more excruciating than he expected, and they found out it was something else that they ended up having to do surgery uh, to get rid of and ease his pain. And I'm not going to divulge, what it is that happened to him. I'll let him tell it if he wants to. But long story short, when he finally went in and they started treating him, well, this 2 months worth of 3 hours of a night sleeping just zonked him out. He was done for. I mean, it was 24 hours for me and the judge even got to talk to him to see if he was still alive. You know, I mean, I get this picture of Jason in his hospital gown and the big Amish beard he's got, and he's like, "I'm in the hospital. They're doing tests." It was over 24 hours later before I got a follow up. Like, hey, I'm here. you know. So, but I'm glad he's doing better. Glad he's doing better.
Huh. Do they have black Amish? I just now realized that I hadn't seen
Do
any.
they have black Amish?
Well, you said
I
Amish
don't.
beard. I would think that. I've seen a bunch of Amish and Mennonites today, and I didn't anyway. Not to get off topic, but yeah, when you go in the hospital nowadays, and you might not even be there, it can change your world, right? It can change your world.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
my uncle
absolutely.
was in the hospital a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago. He had it started. I tell you what, he's been jacking around. This ain't the story I was going to tell, but since I'm telling it, I'll finish it. He got his elbow replaced
Ooh,
before
okay.
Easter.
Okay.
Okay. And the short version is he got infected. And it wasn't right. Anyway, in May, so this is going back to March, April. So in May they took it completely out. So he had to have his arm in a sling with no elbow in it, basically, right? For about 6 weeks while they clean this infection out, and then he's got to be on his antibiotics and all this stuff, right? And he's got to be off essentially for 6 weeks, and then they bring him back and do a biopsy because they weren't going to do it with just blood work to make sure that it is good for surgery. And he's supposed to have surgery. I'm getting my days mixed up. When I say my days, my so in about June, it was 6 weeks essentially from the first of May to the middle of June, right? So he's going to go in there. He goes in there, and they give him the all clear. They do a biopsy, and they say, okay, that was I think on a Monday, because plus with COVID, he's had so many COVID tests, right? Every time he walks in there. So I think it was like a Tuesday, and he was cleared for surgery on Wednesday, right? Okay. They say, okay, we're gonna put you on a surgery schedule. The infection's gone. Day after tomorrow, we're gonna put a new elbow in there. And he walked out of the clinic, and the next day he had a appointment for his annual heart checkup. Okay, he
Yeah.
walked out of the heart doctor, slipped and fell on that broken elbow and broke the elbows. The elbow itself's gone, but and broke the arm at the elbow.
Okay.
So then they made him come back the next day. They put him out and fixed the broken arm and fixed the elbow, kind of all in one shot. And you know what? I might go see him at Christmas, but the week before Christmas, around Christmas, out in Arizona, and I might I might have to put it on Patreon because he's probably going to cuss. He's an old retired truck driver, and when he's talking stuff like this, he's probably going to cuss. Okay, and he can tell the story a lot better than me, obviously. But so he made a declination to me a month ago before he went back to Arizona, that because he's a snowbird, so he lives here in the winter and there in the summer. He made a declination to me he'll never go to surgery again.
Really?
Because he's had a few things. I mean, he's had a lot of stuff replaced, and because he's been battling this for almost a year, he went in there last year to get the elbow, get something done, and essentially had a blood clot and was in a coma for 26 or 28 days.
Oh, geez.
Right. And basically saying, you screw something up and it takes them 6 or 8, 10 weeks or 6 months, and then you got to rehab another 6 or 8 months and this and that. And he goes, dude, you're 70 years old. How many 2-year stints do you got left? You know what I mean? I'll just take some aspirin and tough it out.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh, jeez. Oh, I tell you, just the mental picture of falling on your broke elbow.
Oh, doesn't it hurt? It just thinks like it's terrible, ain't it? I tell you, my brother. I'm gonna tell a brother story. I was talking about how hospital changed life. My brother worked at a Chevy dealership, big Chevy dealership here in Central Missouri at that time, and when he got out of the Navy, he's working at a Chevy dealership and going to school and doing his stuff, and he really became real good friends with a mechanic in the back. And these guys ran a modified and B modified dirt track car on the weekends. Your listeners might know what I'm talking about. So anyway, Raj is this guy's name, and Raj ends up he has problems sitting. They think he's got hemorrhoids. They bring him in there, and he's got ingrown hair on his ass. Okay, I should have cussed. And it gets infected, and he has to have surgery. So he's laid up in there for a week or so, and my brother and these racetrack guys are always they're in there visiting him and trying to sneak him a cigarette and telling him all about everything he's missing. And my brother has a stormy romance with this blonde nurse that's working in there. Okay. And I'm choosing my words because first of all, you don't know any of these people. And second of all, I got to be careful because some of them might listen. So anyway, my brother meets this gal that's attending to his buddy. She says something about going on a date, and he said, I don't know, one thing leads to another, and he's got to go pick her up, and he was tired that day, and he's hung over from the night before, and he told me the other day that I should have never went and picked her up, and he ruined my life. But anyhow, he fought through it and went and picked this old gal up, and he ends up entangled in this relationship that is stormy. She was driving his Trans Am and wrecked it and lost her legs. So then he had to take care of her for about 3 years, and it's just bad. So I know it's a bad story. There's nothing funny about it because I can't tell it right because I'm choosing my words. My dad's gonna listen to this and he's gonna he knows what I'm talking about, but I can tell it a lot funnier if I didn't have to worry about it, maybe on a Patreon. But yeah, you get going in the hospitals and there's crazy people in the hospitals, there's sick people in the hospital, there's disease in the hospital. Just stay out of the hospital. I think that on what do they say in what was the movie Apocalypse Now? Never get out of the boat. Remember? Never get out of the boat unless you want to go all the way. Never go in the hospital unless you're going to go all the way because nothing good comes to that place.
So the moral of the story is that I thank God I didn't actually go visit Jason because of the supposed boil on his back, because who knows?
That's exactly right. Because
I could have gotten.
There's sickness in there. There's crazy people in there. There's crazy sick people in there, and then there's the people that are patients. And it's just dude. I mean, come on. That is no. The hospitals are a no-go, man. No-go, dude.
I listened and I thought it was just a bad week because we couldn't get a couple episodes up. Imagine that. You say, this story here, that just may have saved a few lives along the way. Baby. if people are listening and paying attention.
Yeah, maybe when I was a cop, because obviously the ER, the hospitals are open 24 hours a day. Young cops tended to hang out in the ER, right? They would go to the hospital and hang out because there's some of the older cops knew, the bathrooms always work. When you're driving around different place, you need to go to the bathroom and you got a gun and uniform on. I can swing over to ER. Certain ones had doors that opened better than others, and certain ones had codes, and some of them were automatic. So we all knew what the door code was. So you could walk right to the ambulance door, park where it said police parking only, walk about 6 feet, punch in the code. The door opens. You walk right in there. You go pee. You go to the cafeteria. When I was a patrolman down here at the lake, at that time, our office was in free office space in the basement of the hospital. So, you were there as much as you wanted to be there. I just never went there. My boss was always saying, "Hey, where's your paperwork? I ain't going to that office, man. I'm not going there."
Plus, if you shoot yourself while going to the bathroom, right there, you're right there in the emergency room, right?
Yeah.
Gun goes, yeah. I mean, you're right there.
Yeah, you're right there. I mean, my boss used to tell me all the time, "Dude, how come you're not down here at the office doing this paperwork?" And I said, "Any place that's got a helicopter on the front yard is not any place I need to be." Because that's another whole deal. Them things come down anywhere, anytime, and you're going to park there? No, thank you. I mean, my luck, the helicopter will break. It'll come through the ceiling, and then I'll have to fight all the crazy people for the exit. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Well, before we jump off this episode, the other thing that our supposed superfan complained about was saying that all I did was talk about the movies and the music and stuff we had coming out. So on that note, I know you watched the movie. What would you think of Escape from Death Block 13?
I just restarted. My daughter's up there watching it right now. I had to warn her there's some cuss words. She thought Bronzy was really Charles Bronson. I had to tell her a while ago, no. She's like, "Well, why didn't you get the real one?" I said, "Well, he's dead, honey."
He turned 100 right after
she thought Bronzy was the real Charles Bronson.
Well, the distribution company partnered up with me on Instagram and did a reel, and I think I told you this guy put this question, said, "Why does that guy look like Charles Bronson?"
And I told you what to tell him. He's just lucky, I guess.
Just lucky,
I guess.
But I thought
you could have succinctly. The problem is you're a writer. That's why you can't succinctly answer a comeback like that.
I know. Well,
word
to
salad,
some people,
don't get it with those people.
Hey, listen, to some people I am a writer. To some people I'm not. So it's all about perspective.
One man's writer is another man's freedom fighter. I don't know. I will tell you this. You sent me the photos that he sent you that were grainy. He found Bigfoot. Okay, let's just throw it out there. This gentleman found Bigfoot in the middle of America right here. Okay.
Yep.
And his pictures were kind of grainy. And what I'd want to tell him to do is, I'm going to throw some plugs out there for some of our future sponsors here. All he had to do was during the fall hunting days on Bass Pro or Cabela's, get on BassPro.com and get the Moultrie cameras that were on sale, cell cameras that I got, and he could have put those cameras out there, and it would have sent him an alert to his phone. He could have downloaded those pictures just like I do my whitetail bucks. So there's no reason we can't. 2022 ain't the year we can find Bigfoot, because the Moultrie and the cell cameras. I think America can find Bigfoot. Maybe that's our mission this year. Maybe we should do it, right? This is our contest right here. The 2022 From the Shadows Bigfoot Roundup.
The Bigfoot Roundup.
Roundup.
If nothing else, that's a T-shirt. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
and I will let our listeners to the Howler be the first ones to know that I talked to our website guy, and first of the year we're going to launch a new website, and we're going to take everything down off Patreon, and we're going to have a members only section on the From the Shadows podcast website where we're going to have old episodes, but you and I are going to do at least 2 new episodes a month for the members only, and we have guests. We actually have some guests lined up for that. So if you do want to talk to your uncle and he wants to swear like a sailor, let him, because we'll put it up on the members only section.
That's right. Okay.
So how about that?
Sounds perfect. Yeah.
And we're going to launch some new Ozark Howler merchandise.
That's right.
That's
right.
You can only get from the website. So, so I hope give something else for some of our super fans out there to dig around in and explore.
And hey, anybody that finds Bigfoot in 2022, the grand prize is
free membership to the members.
You get free membership and you get to be on the podcast. Okay. Because this is what we're gonna do. Did Jason offer to fight Bigfoot or who?
No, that was Jerry said Jerry said he'd tackle Bigfoot. Jerry said he'd tackle.
Well, it's Jerry's kids. I had to explain to my daughter a while ago who Jerry's kids were, but so that's what we're going to call them. If you want to be part of New Jerry in 2022, you want to be Jerry's kids, you are the Bigfoot fighters. So we're going to put maybe a squad, maybe a platoon if we get enough. So whoever finds Bigfoot,
and we're going to call them Jerry's. We're going to call them Jerry's kids.
We're going to call them Jerry's kids, and we're going to deploy them. We're going to deploy them to the site to capture. This is, I'm going to get off of the tangent here, and I might say some classified stuff. So get ready to scrub this, right? If the feed cuts right now, it's because the NSA cut it down. We're going to get a squad or a platoon. I doubt if we can get a company of Jerry's kids. And when Bigfoot is actually found on that Moultrie camera, we're going to deploy this squad to that part of the country to apprehend him in the rendition program. And then we're going to take Bigfoot back to southern Ohio to the farm there. We're going to interrogate Bigfoot and figure out where his friends are. I don't want to say kill or capture, but we're going to kill or capture Bigfoot 2022.
Well, don't we have to capture him if we're going to interrogate him?
Maybe. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen.
You know what I'm saying? Don't cloud this up, man. This is a mission. Okay. Sometimes you have to kill them to save them, Shane. That's just the nature of the beast, right? So you've heard of reindeer games. This is Bigfoot games. Okay.
Bigfoot games with Jerry's kids.
Yes, that's exactly
How could
right.
How could this go wrong?
That's exactly right. And you know what? We can get. I don't know if Jason's got some Amish blood in him. He might, now that you mentioned his beard. Okay. And for stealth purposes, when we go out there to get Bigfoot, so we don't spook him. We can't do it with motorized vehicles. We'll get Jerry, and I'll get I got another uncle, not the truck driver. I got a cowboy uncle that's got a doctor's buggy and an old horse that wasn't fast enough for the track. A harness. You're a horse guy. Hey, we'll put this.
I hope
we'll put this doctor's buggy. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this doctor's buggy behind that old horse that didn't make it on the track, and Bigfoot will not be able to outrun this group. This will be like the A team. We're gonna call them the J team. They're gonna be in that buggy. They're gonna run him down just like a Roman chariot, and then they're gonna steer wrestle. It's gonna be Bigfoot wrestle. It's gonna be Bigfoot wrestle. Okay, it's 2022. We're gonna have some Jerry's kids and some a Roman chariot, Bigfoot chariot merchandise rolling out. Okay, so y'all stay tuned. This is it.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.